Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from this morning, what you're drinking, get your questions in. We got a lot to talk about this morning. Texas, OU, we got, just all kinds of stuff. And let's start with Texas, fellas. They, of course, found out what SEC opponents they're going to be playing for the next 4 years. And let's take a look at 26-27 here.
Easily predictable, right, Bobby? You knew Ole Miss, Tennessee, and LSU were going to be on the schedule right out of the gate. You knew that was coming. I actually thought the game would be at Ole Miss, but they gave it at Tennessee. But this is going to be full-throated Manning family coverage next year. Arch probably his final year in Austin, and they're going to bring it all. They're going to bring it all. It'll be Peyton and Marshall Manning in the stands against Tennessee. It'll be the Manning family, the only game Arch plays in Louisiana against LSU. It'll be Ole Miss, 3 alumni, Archie, Eli, and Cooper, and the whole SC Manning history in the SEC. I'm guessing, by the way, I'm going to predict that ESPN's going to come out with a new show about the Mannings next year around
Hell, it'll be Omaha Productions that leads it for sure. Hey, I was looking at this, and I think it's an amazing schedule. This is, this is why you join the SEC. Frankly, compare it to the home schedule during the last years or latter years of the Big 12. Even compare it somewhat to this year in the SEC, where you don't have enough SEC games. They've gone to 9 games. In the SEC, and that's reflective here. You pick up a Missouri and don't have a Sam Houston State, right? That kind of game becomes more interesting, in my opinion. Texas will always have, the great thing about this schedule too, Jerry, Texas will always have 4 SEC home games under this scenario because Oklahoma will always be neutral. The same goes for the Sooners. They will always have 4 home games plus now a neutral site game in Dallas. That's exactly what Chris Del Conte, the Texas AD, wanted. I will also say Texas got what it wanted from the situation of what its 3 continuous rivals would be with A&M, OU, and Arkansas. But I look at this and just say, wow. In 1 year, Texas is going to play Ole Miss, Florida, Arkansas, OU, Tennessee, A&M, and LSU. And guess what? They start the season with Ohio State.
Yeah. Well, there's so much to dig into with all this. You know what's crazy when you look at the schedule for next year? Half these teams, at least 5 teams on the schedule, not the SEC schedule, the full schedule, could have new head coaches. Texas starts with Texas State next year. What are the chances G.J. Kinney doesn't have a new job next year with Oklahoma State opening, Arkansas likely to open? If Lane Kiffin goes to Florida, Ole Miss comes open.
Yeah.
UTSA, he could be off to a Power 4 job, one of those we just talked about. Ole Miss could have a new head coach if Lane Kiffin takes the Florida job. Arkansas is probably going to have a new head coach. You look at this schedule. Eli Drinkwitz will be in on the Florida job. The 3 names that'll be mentioned will be Lane Kiffin, Eli Drinkwitz, and Kirk Cinetti. That's almost a given. But you look at how many new head coaches are possible on the schedule. Then you also look at, Bobby and Blake, how many new quarterbacks are going to be on this schedule. Arkansas will have a new quarterback. LSU will have a new quarterback. Mississippi State will have a new quarterback, and they love the young kid. Missouri will have a new quarterback. Tennessee will have a new quarterback. Florida may well have a new quarterback. We'll see. But you start to look around at that schedule, and there's a potential for a lot of turnover in coaches and quarterbacks on that schedule, but great venues the next 2 years. Just great. The fact that Texas fans get to go to South Carolina in 27 is awesome. South Carolina is a very underrated place to go, a place to go watch a football game, especially when they're good. It's a great place to play.
Get out. Look at you talk about 27. The thing I was going to bring up is Alabama and Georgia, same year, a return to the scene of the crime in Tuscaloosa. Get Georgia. That'll be Alabama with Keelan Russell, by the way, as quarterback, most likely. right? So, I mean, look, I think that this is going to be fun. That'll be, and it could be KJ Lacey versus Keenan Russell, right? So, yeah, I'm all about these schedules. I think that, it's time. It's a great time to be a Longhorn fan, and I mean that sincerely, because every week, when you start going to this 9-game schedule, you add an Ohio State. 10 out of the 12 weeks are highly, highly competitive. I mean, Texas. I will say this: Texas couldn't come out of the chute like they did this year. Going forward, they're going to have to be ready a little bit earlier and get the cobwebs shaken off. But good stuff.
The last time, by the way, Texas has never played in Knoxville. This will be the first time they've ever played at Tennessee. The last meeting was 1969. Texas won 36-13. That was in the, I believe that was in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas in 69, January 1 of 69. I could be wrong on that. But I could be wrong on the date because I was not yet born. But they have not played since 1969, and Texas has never played in Knoxville. So that will be a first on this schedule next year.
And I'm ready to play Baton Rouge on a Saturday night.
No, yeah. That's going to be – by the way, Mississippi State and Florida 3 years in a row. That's the one thing I probably wasn't expecting.
Yeah, me either.
Is to play 3 years in a row against Mississippi State and Florida. But I guess the way the schedule worked out, that it almost had to be in some ways, because you couldn't replace Mississippi State with Auburn and replace Florida with, I don't know, Alabama. I mean, then the schedule would be just over the top. I think the SEC tried to not make anybody's schedule just otherworldly difficult too, right? I mean, it was funny. They were joking on the SEC network on the release that, hey, Florida's schedule is actually easier than this year, next year. So I think the SEC did a pretty good job. Now, some could argue A&M got a pretty good draw next year for those A&M people in the chat.
Yeah, they probably so. I just want to say this. This means the way they set it up, and I think the reason they did it, some of the way they did, Texas will have played every SEC opponent by their 4th year in the league. So by 2027, Texas will have played every single other SEC team. So that's how they lined up the schedule. The ones that they hadn't played thus far would be Auburn, South Carolina, were the two that were remaining on that level. I guess Alabama you would count as well, because that actually was a non-conference game, both in DKR and in Tuscaloosa. So good stuff. Excited about it. I think Greg Sankey and his staff did another whale of a job. But that was not the only big news in college football yesterday. There's some issues going up in Norman that we need to talk about. But first, I want to say thank you to our sponsor. The Wednesday sponsor for Coffee and Football is Adam Lowy of the Lowy Law Firm. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, from 18-wheeler to ATV, make sure you reach out to Adam and his team at loweylawfirm.com. They'll give you a free, no-strings-attached consultation to see if you might be due compensation. Again, that's Adam Lowy over at the Lowy Law Firm, celebrating 20-plus years working in Austin and the Central Texas area. He can help you out anywhere, though. Again, loweylawfirm.com. Thanks to Adam for his sponsorship, the continued sponsorship of Coffee and Football. All right, John Mateer. Let's talk about that for a little bit. ESPN reporting yesterday, John Mateer will undergo surgery today to address a right hand injury. That's his throwing hand. He sustained against Auburn in the first quarter.
I don't know if I believe that, first of all, but keep going.
Oh, I saw. No, there's a photo, a play of him hitting the helmet. Jerry, don't shake your head at me. There's a play of him hitting somebody's helmet, and then the very next throw, it's kind of like all garbled, and he just kind of chucks it out there. It's clear, and then the next play he's holding his hand behind his back.
Yeah.
And so, but I will say this, dude had a whale of a game to come back from that. Venables, though, said the expectation is that Mateer will return to action sometime this season. They're thinking, Jerry, and this is where you and I were talking about it yesterday. They're thinking anywhere from 4 to 5 weeks, which would put them outside the 2.5 week window when Texas takes on the Sooners in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, he's definitely he won't play against Texas. He's going to go have surgery in LA with the doctor that operates on the top pro athletes when they're injured. Mike Trout, Drew Brees, Steph Curry. I mean, so you're getting on a plane and you're flying to LA. Serious one. Somebody roll left said, "What's the actual injury diagnosis?"
Pete Thamel had a tweet on this. He said it's a bone in his right hand, in his throwing hand.
Yeah.
That it sounds like it just needs to be removed. It's probably an additional metacarpal bone. But I look, 2.5 weeks for surgery on your throwing hand. That would be pushing it, to Jerry's point. There it is. You had it, Blake. There it is. John Mateer's injury is a broken bone in his right throwing hand that he suffered in the first quarter against Auburn on Saturday night. The estimated timeline after surgery is expected to be about a month, as the surgery is considered straightforward. Look, this is huge for OU in so many ways. It's huge for Texas as well, because Texas likely sees Michael Hawkins, who they saw last year in the Cotton Bowl, right, Jerry? And Michael Hawkins, he's a year older, but he ain't John Mateer throwing the football. And I think that it changes the complexion of the Texas OU game. It changes the complexion of Oklahoma's season, and it may change the complexion of Oklahoma football if Brent Venables can't steer himself into a better situation given what's going on, because this could be I don't want to say it's a death knell, but they're not winning 10 games with Michael Hawkins at quarterback, dude. And so it wasn't his gambling hand from Josh Reyna.
By the way, I'm going to stand by this. I think he may have initially injured, but he played the rest of the game and exasperated his injury. Bottom line.
Yeah, I'm fair with that.
Yeah, he may have initially hurt it, but that doesn't mean that was the final blow injury when you played the whole game and ran it. I'm not buying it.
Well, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
The initial injury though occurred.
Yeah.
And he may have exacerbated afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, look, they're running him like a rented mule.
Yep.
I mean, he's got 43 rushes. He's the team's leading rusher.
Yeah.
And so that's reality.
What'll be interesting is if you look at their schedule, their last five games are against all ranked opponents as of today. For people like, oh, they'll try to rush to get him back for Oklahoma game or for the Texas game. I just don't think they can run that risk because
I agree.
It can't be about one game when your last 5 are all ranked opponents. And by the way, the game before that's at South Carolina. Their last 6 games are brutal on the schedule. I don't think they can rush to try to get him back for the rivalry game and risk the rest of the season. I think that would be another bad thing that Venables does and could easily get him fired.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I agree with you. It changes the complexion of the whole thing, Jerry, because now they were looking pretty good, right? Everybody that watched, they beat Auburn and Michigan. Those were both probably 50-50 games going into the season, you would think. And now, I mean, is Mateer going to come back completely healthy when he does come back? I mean, what happens when he gets hit when they run him one of 15 times in a game? I mean, where does their run game come from? They're a little hosed right now.
The other piece to this is now with Michael Hawkins taking over, at least it happened in the Auburn game and not the Kent State game, by the way. Yeah. So Hawkins gets a start before Texas. But the other piece to that is they have to be cautious with Michael Hawkins running the football because their third team quarterback, which you never want to get to in this sport at any level in football, is a third team quarterback. Their third team quarterback is, I believe, a Mercer transfer who so he does have D1 experience, but he's a bigger guy. He's a pocket guy, doesn't fit the system, what they ideally want to do. So they have a lot to be concerned with Michael Hawkins, who likes to run the football in that scheme. They're going to have to adjust their scheme or kind of what they want to do a little bit. I think not their scheme, their play calling to protect Michael Hawkins, because if he goes down, it really implodes for them, because the third team quarterback's not a scheme fit for them in the same way they wanted using Mateer, and they're probably going to want to use Michael Hawkins. Now, that only may be impactful for the Kent State game, and they don't need to run Michael Hawkins in that game. Against Texas, they will have to run the quarterback, in my opinion. But still, that's getting pretty risky for them. So it'll be interesting to see how they approach the play calling with Hawkins.
All right. Well, it is Wednesday, which means it's hump day with Heels. We're going to have Tony Heels joining us right now. I think he's ready. So, Tony, how we doing this morning?
He's got a little Longhorn mug. What do you got going on there, Tony? He's not even talking yet.
Listen, man, let me tell you something. Injury, fellas. Injury is a part of the game. You want to know what else helps championship teams?
Luck.
Timing. Not luck, Jerry, timing.
Timing.
Let me tell you something. If I ever felt great about what's going on right now, it would be Arch Manning blowing out the team that he's supposed to, flexing over people that the world is saying, oh, you were supposed to do that. I don't care, because there's a certain thing called confidence. And I told you young fellas that when this young man started playing with confidence, we were going to see a different Arch. Now, I get the competition wasn't what it was supposed to be. I understand that. That's perfectly fine. But at the end of the day, once you see yourself do it, then you can keep going on and growing through it. So I look forward to the rest of what's going on with Arch. I look forward to next week. I look forward to the season. I just see growth all the way around. But real talk though, it sucks what happened to Mateer, because honestly, I would love to have him in the game. I want to see their best versus our best. I really do. But at the same time, the Texas alumni in me says, oh, well, figure it out. Figure it out, man, because injury is a part of the game. So that's where I'm at with it, man. Talk to me. What's going on?
Yeah, well, hey, Tony, I mean, it could happen to Texas next week in Florida, and we could be seeing, Matthew Caldwell go up against Michael Hawkins. You just never know, right? Going back to the game against Sam Houston State, obviously they did not have the talent level that some other teams have had when they came to Austin. What were your thoughts still, not necessarily about the play of Arch Manning, but particularly the offensive line, because you're an offensive lineman. What did you think of those guys? How did you think of them in pass pro? It seemed like everything was clicking. They had 600 yards of total offense. Your evaluation of the offensive line on Saturday night. Yeah,
absolutely. So I believe it's kind of hard to evaluate it in the sense of like just from the competition level, right? Not wanting to be disrespectful to Sam Houston, but it felt like a scrimmage game, and rightfully so. But I'll say this: you don't have any control over who you play. Like the schedule is the schedule. Good teams do what they're supposed to do. I still think that there's some stuff they have to clean up, right? There were some short edges, some situations, a little bit of pressure that more than likely shouldn't happen. More fundamental issues than mental issues. I'll say this: the penalties were down, so that's good, right? And the run game is still there. I believe as we continue to move on through the season, man, we're going to really need to rely and lean on that run game, and we've proven throughout the season, even against Ohio State, we can run the football. We can run the football. And as long as you can run the football, that can shorten the game. And if you can shorten the game, then the beautiful thing about that is it minimizes potential turnover, right? So when you find yourself playing higher competition, as long as we're able to, continue to sustain drives on the ground, catch a couple of big plays in the air from time to time, that's a formula for success. So those guys got to still keep working. We'll have a better challenge against Florida, at Florida, right? At least from an offensive line standpoint. Defensively, I see dominance just because, Lagway's just not really having a good couple of past weeks. And so I don't think that stops when he plays us, right? But offensive line perspective, I think the competition will definitely be higher for them next week, and we'll be able to see if they can compound the success that they had last week going into Florida.
Hey, Tony, a question from the chat, which is a good one. Were you impressed with any of the youngsters on the offensive line? Any of the Nick Brooks got his first action, Daniel Cruz, Nate Kibble, some of those guys?
He did, absolutely. I mean, look, you had the quarterback break that long run on the mid draw. Like, those guys have some sense of understanding of what's going on. And the one thing you know about a Kyle Flood offensive line is they're going to play hard. I thought that they moved people around really well. Obviously, you can see some of the young mistakes when it came to some certain technique things, but that happens, man. You at that point, you're just excited to get out there, get some action, and get some burn. So I believe the future is bright with Texas. I did like seeing Cruz and Brooks out there. I was particularly impressed with Brooks because I know for him, he's still a raw talent, right? There's still a lot for him to work on. So to see his growth in a game time situation, and I get it, I'm not, I understand the competition aspect, but at the end of the day, to see his growth from where he started when he came from high school all the way through training camp to now, he's taken some tremendous leaps, and I believe he'll continue to take those leaps.
Tony, what about Brandon Baker, the right tackle, redshirt freshman? Your thoughts on his play thus far, because a lot of people are pointing to him. He's the one that has the least amount of experience, and is the youngest actually of the starting offensive line. What do you think of his play thus far, and what you've seen and haven't seen, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Baker, I just think that the thing with him is consistency, right? And that's what you're going to have when you have a young player. He's strong. He's strong enough to get the dog. He holds the point of attack pretty well. He's definitely athletic. I think a lot of times when you have plays away from him, he needs to do a better job in his short area quickness to be able to cut off the backside, because there's some times where I see him missing on that, and that's technique things. And again, I just truly believe that as the season continues to go on, he's just going to get better. I believe Brandon Baker is a starting tackle. Right. And I'll pound the table for the young man because I know how he works and I know how he wants to get better. And he has been. Right. And so as he continues to see more experience, as he see more playing time, that playing time will give him more experience. As he continues to grow up through the season, he'll start to see some of the looks that he's seen before, and he'll be able to counter those looks. He'll gain counter moves. He'll understand point of attack. He'll understand angles a little better in live action, right? Because I can tell you right now, you can practice all you want. At the end of the day, the way that the game is played and the way that it's practiced are two separate things, right? And so you need that game time experience. So at the end of the day, that's the thing that's going to have him continue to elevate and grow. But I don't have a problem with his play. And it's crazy, man, this narrative that this guy, right? It's because that's all it is. It's a narrative. When you go back and watch him from start to finish, it's not like he's getting beat on every single play that we see. It's not like we're not seeing some leakage from all throughout the offensive line throughout the game. We are. That's the growing pains. And I talked about that at the very beginning of the season. It will get better, right? And so for me, I just continue. If Baker listens to this, block out the noise, continue to work every single day, because what ends up happening is the more you win, the more people shut up. It's just the reality of it. It's just the reality of it.
I love it. Let's have more winning. Let's have more. I think your answer is pretty telling, because you've been there and done that on the offensive line at the highest level. People, when they critique someone, often look for the easy answers, and the truth is often more nuanced, right? It's more difficult to ascertain. All right, Tony, other parts I wanted to ask you about. You've been a player that's had an off week, but Texas, and you talked about this a little bit a minute ago, they're now going into Florida that is a 1-3 Florida that had much higher aspirations heading into the season, right? And then they're going to play OU, this 2-game stretch where the Sooners are without their quarterback. Yeah. Is this the time where Texas, and I'm just trying to, put my thinking hat on, where Texas needs to just focus on Texas? I mean, they can't control anybody or anything else. They just need to focus on themselves and getting better themselves.
Well, I believe that every week, to your point, Bobby, that's what they need to do, right? Listen, the opponent is a nameless gray face, right? It's always you versus you. How do you get better every single day, individually and then collectively as a team? At the end of the day, I don't. Florida is still Florida. So it's not like Texas can go over there and say, okay, this is a 1-3 team. Let's overlook them. And to be honest, just being around the people that have been around Sark, that's not what he preaches, right? Texas, listen, this is the SEC. You can be beat by any team. Records don't matter. This is the SEC to me is the closest thing to the NFL because I tell you this much, and Will Campbell said it. He said the difference between college and the pros is that, you can be playing a good person in college on a good team, right? You play a bad team, you're going to probably play bad individuals on that team. In the in the NFL, you have Pro Bowlers on bad teams, so you got to bring it every week. I believe that the SEC is similar. You're going to have great players on some bad teams, right? And so at the end of the day, you can't take a day off. And I don't believe that Texas is in the position to be able to take a day off. There's a lot of growth that has to happen. So every week that they go out, the things that they didn't do the last week is the things that they need to be harping on and making sure that in practice we're focused on and we're locked in. I still believe there's a lot of areas of growth, short yardage, third down, goal line, red zone. There's a lot that Texas needs to work on if they want to get to where they want to be in the college playoffs and beyond. So, yeah, every week is them versus them and them working on those things that they need to work on in order to be the team they want to be.
Hey, Tony, it's going to be the Florida game is going to be a big change for the Texas offensive line. So,
yeah,
since Ohio State, they've played smaller defensive lines that are going to slant and try to create confusion, right, and win with low leverage quickness.
Yeah,
Florida, all these guys are 310, 320, 330. We'll see if they get their 350-pounder over the ball back. He's been out, Burrow. And then the edges are bigger, right? I mean, you look at the edges and you're talking about 275, 280-pounder on one of those edges, right? And so it's more Tyreek's at 275-pounder. He'll be a draft pick. Talk about the change the offensive line's going to see because it's going to be drastically different than what they've been going against the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, usually the rule of thumb is when you see smaller defensive linemen, you want to run power at them because you want to lean that weight, right? That 70, 80-pound difference because your thought process is, as we continue to lean on them and they have to hold us up, they get tired in the fourth quarter, and then you start seeing more explosive plays, right? When you're playing a bigger team, a bigger opponent, you typically want to go zone in those particular situations because you need to get those guys moving. Plug and play. It's not too often that you're going to move a 350-pounder out of the hole, right? It's going to be, but you don't want to run away from that power. You still come back with power because sometimes 2 or 3 yards in a cloud of dust is about establishing the dominance, right? But as it pertains to the effectiveness, it'd be similar to me to when Texas played Michigan. Right, they had a pretty decent defensive line as well. They were a big group, and what we did is we ran zone against them. We got those guys moving lateral, and we saw success. And I can tell you this, crazy enough, the thing that came out of the UTSA game was Simon. Simon is a one-cut back.
Yeah.
So being able to understand lanes and get into the hole and make things happen quickly, that puts a lot of pressure on the defensive line. And then obviously we know the play calling of Sark for him to get, like I like to call it, he gets a little freaky out there, with the things that he's able to do and get guys open. I believe he'll scheme the run game. And we have the athletic talent to do it. Now, here's the thing in pass pro, right? Because it ain't all sunshines and rainbows. In pass pro, the tackles are going to have to hold up on those edges. We can't have short edges. And intrinsically, when it comes to the center and the guards, you got to keep everything on the line. The center. Give me the center that they made the switch for Robertson, right? Yeah. He's a bigger body. Bigger body. So I believe that will help as it pertains to being able to keep the defensive tackles on the line. That way, that gives Arch great throwing lanes. And here's a thing too. Arch is 6'4". right? So being able to see over the line is a positive for him, as in, times past where we had a shorter quarterback. So there's some calls for, I don't want to use the word concern, but it'll be a good matchup. It'll be a really good matchup for Texas and Texas offensive line to see how they hold up against bigger bodies.
Tony, you led me into a question. One, because Cole Hudson's kind of a Swiss Army knife, right? He can play any of the guard, center, guard. What did you see from Connor Robertson? And would you take a look at Connor Robertson playing center and Cole Hudson maybe playing both guard spots moving forward if Connor Robertson performed really well? Not that Cole wasn't, but could that be a blessing in disguise move too for Texas, or give Kyle Flood and Sark that possibility?
Well, what it does is by you having that ability, with Hudson, it gives us more depth, experience depth, right? So now Robertson's play is going to be predicated on the experience depth that Texas has. He's a road grader. I'll tell you that. He gets guys out of there, and it doesn't seem hard for him. Usually when you look at centers, what you want squatty bodies, wrestling type, short neck, real thick legs. He checks off all the boxes, and he's an aggressive guy. Now, when I watched him, it's kind of hard because Sam Houston wasn't giving too many exotic looks. You know what I mean? So I don't know the mental aspect of his game to be able to identify defenses. But from his play, the first thing I noticed as soon as he got in, I was like, "Oh, he's way bigger than Hudson, right?" And so as I watched him move people, I was like, "Okay, this makes sense." And especially when you're talking about going into a Florida game where you have bigger bodies, you're going to need a bigger body as well. So. To answer that question directly, Jerry, we're just going to have to see. I got to see him against better competition to know who he truly is.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, look, Kyle Flood, as we talk about the offensive line generally, right? He's been I think because they've had some penalties, Tony, and because they weren't able to run as easily as they wanted to against, say, a UTEP, et cetera, right out of the gate. People ascribed some problems there. We'll see. They're coming up with two big matchups. Tony, one last thing I had for you as it relates to UT football right now. You feel good about this team right now? And that's a question. And then furthermore, have you seen anything that changes your preseason predictions or alters them in any way whatsoever through the first 4 games? Anything that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, so you initially go in thinking that the dominance factor is going to be there. And what you come out walking away is that Texas as a team in totality is a work in progress, right? There's a lot of pieces there. And to be honest, if we're just being 1,000% honest, the work in progress is just going to be on the offensive side. Defensively, They have been dominant. Period and point. They have been dominant. Special teams. My gosh, we've gotten such a boost from special teams. I mean, man, that young fella 21 is a monster out there on punt return, right? Obviously, the kicking woes that we all experience, we would hold our breath for, right? So I guess we're able to put that to rest. So special teams and defense, when it comes to Texas, we know they lead the charge. Offensively is where the most growth has to happen. So I wouldn't say that I'm changing my prediction because I truly believe that we have all of the pieces to get where we're going. It's going to be determined on how quickly the offensive line and Arch and these receivers are able to sync up and have consistency in their continuity. That to me seems to be one of the biggest things is that, when we have good blocks, we miss a target. If we have good blocks and we get the ball to the target drops the ball. If we have a wide open receiver, we get edged. Like it's a lack of continuity, and you can't have that as you continue to move to the season. Now, with this happening, it's expected because it's early. If we're down the road 3, 4, 5 weeks from now and we're still having these same issues, it's going to get you beat. It's going to get you beat in the highest pressure moments. It's going to get you beat. What you're going to see is you're going to see Ohio State all over again, where we've done what we needed to do. We've kept the game close. We're in a position to strike. But that same thing that we didn't get fixed from week one comes back and bites us in the ass in the college playoff. That's what I can perceive happening if we don't get these things turned over within these next stretches. And these next 2 games are going to determine the growth of Texas. So I'll know more in about 2 weeks than I do now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, Tony. Thank you so much, buddy. We'll see you again next week. Off week this weekend, Tony. Have some fun, man. I appreciate you.
Man, as always, man. And always remember, no matter what time zone you're in, OU always sucks. Hook 'em horn, baby.
Wait, Tony. Do they suck thumbs now or what?
Oh, you know what? Well, if they do, I know a place that they can go in LA to help them get that fixed. Shout out to the hand doctor. Listen, I hope that hand doctor make that man take 5 weeks, man. The heck with OU, bro.
Thanks, Tony.
Take care. They suck thumbs now. Good one, Jerry Hamilton. That's a good one.
All right, Jerry. Tell us about Harry's.
I can tell you about Harry's. Jerry's going to tell you about Harry's. We should, look, 2-tiered orange. What is this, like the SEC schedule thing? But this is a bad boy razor now. I'm just telling you, like I said yesterday, when the women in your life say, what's this? And they look at that, say, that's a good razor. You know, this is a good product, right? Women know razors. You know that. Let's be honest. Most razors suck. They're either way overpriced or dull after a few shaves and leave your face feeling like it's been attacked by sandpaper. You don't want that feeling. Don't get me started on overpriced refills. $20 for a 4-pack should be illegal. That's where Harry's comes in. Harry's is the best of both worlds, a barbershop quality shave with German engineered blades and a sleek, ergonomic handle at literally half the price of other premium razors. Their precision manufacturing process measures each blade in microns. We're talking aerospace level accuracy for sharpness and consistency, reducing irritation and razor burn, especially around the neck. That just ruins your day or your week. We've all been there. Each cartridge has blades carefully spaced to close enough for a clean pass, but not so tight they clog like most multi-blade razors. And here's the kicker. Harry's isn't just one of the best engineering razors on the planet. It's also affordable. By owning their factory and cutting out the middleman, Harry's delivers top-tier blades for as low as half the price of the big brands. It's time to stop overpaying for a mediocre shave. For a limited time, our listeners can get Harry's trial set for only $8 plus a free gift at harrys.com/ontexas. Just head on over to harrys.com/ontexas to receive our exclusive discount. After your purchase, they'll ask where I heard about them. You know the answer. OTF.
All right, and I'm going to tell everyone this morning about Prize Picks because we make decisions daily, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. And with football now here, it's time for you to make that money. It's very simple to play. You're just going to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you cash in. It's the best way to get in on sports action in more than 40 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and of course, right here in Texas. And this week, there is a special max discount promotion live on the board right now. Jalen Hurts has been discounted to only needing to go for 1 passing yard during the Eagles versus Buccaneers game this Sunday. I added that along with the Joe Z special, Oregon wide receiver Decorey Moore to have more than 42.5 receiving yards. So come join me on those picks or make your own in less than 60 seconds. Turn your sports opinions into real money. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code ONTEXAS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code ONTEXAS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's Prize Picks. Run your game.
Man, I'm still mad Texas didn't recruit Jalen Hurts harder. It's been 10 years. I should get over that.
What about Andrew Luck, Bobby?
Oh, no.
What about JT Barrett?
Don't get him going.
What about RG3?
Just stop. Just stop.
Oh, man.
Did I miss anybody?
Yeah.
A lot.
Unfortunately, yes, you did. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We have some super chats I'm going to jump over to real quick from Parth Brooks here. Thank you for your super chat. And he wants to know, why is Clark higher on the depth chart than Simon? He says, in his opinion, Simon has better gap power, outside zone, and counter, maybe a push. Separately, Florida, Tennessee, A&M, that's a tough final 3-game stretch, and Mizzou is a total trap game after OU. Now,
yeah,
let's
say this first about those Tennessee, Florida, A&M. Those games were not in order.
Correct.
So they have not decided on the dates. It was simply home and away that they announced.
Yeah.
So don't if you put that graphic back up, it wasn't about a singular date or order to the games. It literally was just giving you the home and away listing of it, Parth. So that's number one. As far as Clark versus Simon, I think it has a lot to do with pass protection and knowing what's going on within the offense. I'm not saying James Simon's not a smart guy, is an unwilling blocker in pass protection or any of that. I'm saying that you don't want your quarterback going to a hand doctor in LA. That's more important maybe even than your ability to run the football at certain levels, because Christian Clark's not a bad runner of the football, right? So you have to be able to pass protect in college football, or people just aren't going to play you as much. And I'm not saying James Simon can't or won't eventually get there. Christian Clark's probably better at this point in that regard. That's all. And I know Jarrett Gibson is as well, by the way.
And let's see here. We got a couple of super chats regarding the OU or Mateer situation. Jeff Carey says, how did the betting odds change on the OU game?
Good question.
Goodness. Have you seen that?
I haven't. I'm going to look that up and see what the line has changed to.
I mean, it has to be.
Yeah. I'll look while y'all talk about this one. From Jerry's Jack Link says, the problem isn't the injury, it's the recovery from the surgery. The thumb is not an easy recovery.
No, I mean, it's the it's the key to gripping the football. So that is and by the way, when he comes back from that injury, it's going to change the way they call plays.
It has to.
So they're going to have to protect him somewhat. So it's no, it's not an easy recovery, first of all. And second of all, they're going to have to really think about how much they put him in harm's way moving forward. And that can impact their season, because their like we said, after Texas, they go to South Carolina, then they have 5 ranked opponents in a row. That is a really difficult last 7 games. Texas, South Carolina on the road, and 5 ranked opponents in a row. It's what we've been talking about all offseason, how difficult their schedule is. So it's going to be interesting how, when Mateer comes back, when that is how do they use him? How does that affect their play calling? Because I think it is.
I'm just looking at this. He has another year of eligibility, right, Jerry?
Yeah.
22, 23, 24, 25. Did he take a red shirt his freshman year?
I believe he did.
Yeah, so he has another year if he wants it. So, I mean, if that may save Brent Venables' job, the fact that Mateer has another year and they might be able to keep him. But look, I mean, maybe Ben Arbuckle is getting ready to take another job too, the offensive coordinator at OU. You never know.
I mean, yeah. I mean, here's the reality of the coaching, the carousel. What if G.J. Kinney gets a job at Arkansas, Oklahoma State? Well, Ben Arbuckle or Jeff Traylor leaves UTSA. Ben Arbuckle will probably be a name floated for those 2 jobs.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that are going to go on around this coaching carousel this year, I think, because I do think eventually Florida will come open. So that's a blue blood or near blue blood, a program that's won 3 national championships and since 97. That one's going to kickstart some things, but UCLA's open, Virginia Tech's open, Oklahoma State's now open. Everybody believes Arkansas will come open. And then if Lane Kiffin leaves and an Ole Miss goes, there's a lot of things at play. But I think a guy like Ben Arbuckle his name will be thrown out there for a Texas State or UTSA if one of those guys leaves for a P4 job.
And for those unaware, Arbuckle, the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, I didn't clarify that when I was first speaking, but I think Jerry's right. There could be a domino effect. There always is in college football coaching carousel. There always is.
Yeah, and in Oregon with a Will Stein, he'll be thrown in. His name will be mentioned for Texas State or UTSA when one of those guys moves on to a P4 job. A lot going to go on in this coaching carousel.
Then we have a super chat this morning from Nathaniel. Thank you, Nathaniel. He said, sorry if I missed this, but is there any chance that Sark has held Mosley back on purpose when he might have been able to play, but just to save him for SEC play?
Is there any chance? The answer is, of course, there's a chance. They just haven't. They've been ultra cautious. Cole Hudson could have played last week, guys. Trey Wisner could have played. I mean, they have held people back and been ultra cautious going into SEC play. I will say this: Mosley had a hamstring issue in the summer, apparently, re-injured it during fall camp, or re-aggravated it is the best way to put it, and then now has been dealing with it thus far. He was about 3 weeks ago, I was told he would be back by Florida. Well, here we are. We're a week and a half out. So it's possible that Sark has held multiple people out, not just Mosley, but I haven't heard that him in particular has been held out purposely, not any more so than anybody else, if that makes sense.
And then Joshy Manning, thank you for your super chat. I know Tony kind of went over that, so didn't get a chance to say thank you when he was talking. And then our last one that I see right now from Taylor says, I owe Simon an apology. I thought his high school tape, he ran upright and wasn't very fast. I was very wrong. And then Taylor says he'll stick to firefighting and paramedicine.
Well, thank you for sticking to that. We don't need you quitting on that at this point in life. I think that Simon is one of those sneaky backs. He's not. I really think if you want a comparison for him, for me, it's Trey Wisner. I mean, he's very similar to Trey Wisner. I don't know if he sees the cutback lane as well as Trey. I mean, Trey sees the cutback lane extraordinarily well. Like, I'm not so sure that he doesn't see that better than the regular lane. And maybe more of a one-cut runner, though, than Wisner. But I think Texas got somebody with James Simon. Now, you can mix and match him. I'll just say this. You add him with a Derek Cooper, and all of a sudden you got two really different styles of running back, not unlike what you would have had do have with Trey Wisner and C.J. Baxter. Little lightning and thunder, So I agree with that.
And then Edgar put one in just now. Thank you, Edgar. He says, excited to see Baxter's return. Wisner, Baxter, Mosley, all back for Florida. Arch is crossing route some more. Whoa, weapons galore. Hook 'em.
It's going to be interesting to see. Well, I mean, look, we talked about this a little bit. I don't know what program it was on, but how much 3 and 4 wide we're going to see from Texas, because that's going to depend on the offensive line holding up against Florida and Oklahoma.
Yep.
Or are you going to see more 12 personnel? Could affect how much Emmett Mosley plays in his return. Even how many snaps Parker Livingstone plays in some cases, because Wingo and Moore are going to be 1 and 2. So that's going to the offensive line. That's why I think it's huge offensive line games. If the next two, Florida and Oklahoma, and yes, you could say the rest of the way, but really against their D lines, because it's going to be telling of how Sark calls plays. I believe is how the offensive line holds up against those two defensive lines. Even though Florida has a bunch of guys injured, they're still talented. So how does the OL hold up in pass pro against Florida and Oklahoma is going to be very telling of Sark's play calls. I do believe that. On James Simon, I wanted to add this. Here's the question for the chat. And I think he's very good. I actually think he's the most talented back on the roster right now.
Over Wisner and Baxter?
Long term. My question is, can he be Katron Allen once he gets up to 215 pounds next year? They have similar running styles. Can he be Katron Allen next year?
The Penn State kid.
Yeah, he's not going to get the touches year one, because when Katron Allen and Nick Singleton came in, they were the two guys on that Penn State team. He's not going to get those type of level carries on this team. But can he be Katron Allen after this year? That'll be interesting.
Man, you think he's the most talented running back on the roster currently?
Yeah, natural runner. Yeah, I do.
I have never even thought of it that way. So it's something to consider.
I just think he's instinctively really gifted as a back.
Yeah,
I think
he looks it.
I think that when he sticks his foot in the ground, it's so quick and decisive that.
Yeah, I think I need to see a little bit more from him with Wisner and Baxter. I think we've seen both of them have some experience isn't the right word. They've been through the war, and there's a value in that is part of your gift or part of your talent.
Yeah.
We haven't seen Simon go through that yet.
Yeah.
So
I want to say this. I want to say this. If Cedric Baxter hadn't had a major knee injury, he's the most talented back in the program. But he had a significant knee injury.
Gotcha.
Bobby, tell us this morning about Duck Camp.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys know I love Duck Camp, and they also love the folks at On Texas Football. They've got a special going right now on duckcamp.com for On Texas Football users. Go to duckcamp.com and use promo code ONTexas25. That's ONTexas25, all one word, for 25% off. Duck Camp makes gear for folks who live for being out there, whether that's in a duck blind at sunrise or on the 40 acres for Saturday kickoff. Born right here in Austin, Duck Camp builds best-in-class hunting and fishing apparel that works just as well for a full day in the field as it does for a long day of tailgating. Sun protection shirts that keep you cool, iconic game series hats that feel like instant classics. Duck Camp gear is ready for football season, hunting season, and every season in between. Check out their website. Again, duckcamp.com. That's duckcamp.com. Use promo code ONTexas25 for 25% off. You won't find that deal anywhere else. Again, duckcamp.com. Use promo code ONTexas25 for 25% off. They're also very gracious. Each and every home game, Duck Camp is giving away a $200 gift certificate to somebody that attends our tailgates. Just tremendous partner here with us at On Texas Football. Thank you very much, duckcamp.com.
All right, let's talk a little recruiting this morning, Jerry. What do you have for us?
Well, we're going to take Cohen Brown just put up his senior tape.
Oh, nice.
So as these guys put up their senior tape, we like to play it because some guys put it up week to week, and that's tougher. But Cohen Brown made, I think, a little bit first 3 games highlight video, and man, he looks a lot like DeAndre Moore. He really does. He looks a lot like DeAndre Moore to me. I think DeAndre Moore would be maybe a better dancer based on the end of that, but we'll see. But they're very similar frames, and they're very similar like speed. I think Cohen Brown may have 0.707 faster 100-meter time, right? But it's not discernible difference. But it's very similar body types to me. In I think there's a similar toughness and kind of the way they attack the game. I mean, for those that didn't hear the Cohen Brown, we need to get him back on one of our night live streams. He was an unbelievable interview, like so impressive as a guy. You just know he's going to maximize his talent if he stays healthy. But Cohen Brown to me is similar from a frame standpoint, and he's having a big year. Obviously, I don't have the stats from his Duncanville game yet, but his first 2 games against Ennis and Forney, he had 13 catches for 255 and 3 touchdowns. And Ennis, a rivalry game. Forney, pretty good team there. Obviously, Javian Osborne on that team, but they have some good defensive players over there at Forney as well. And they upset Duncanville or beat Duncanville. For the Waxahachie fans, that wasn't an upset. They beat Duncanville last week, so he's off to a really good start as his senior year. They have DeSoto coming up this Friday. I mean, the District of Doom. You think Oklahoma has a tough schedule? I mean, Waxahachie plays Duncanville, DeSoto, Mesquite Horn at Cedar Hill, Skyline at Lancaster, and Mesquite. I mean, that's a hell of a schedule. And if he goes and puts up another 1,200, 1,300 yards receiving this season on that schedule, it says a lot about that kid. He went over 1,000 last year, but I just wanted to we wanted to give him a shout out this morning because he's off to a really good start senior year, and he's doing it against really good competition on a really good schedule up in DFW. That is a fast district. So when you watch tape of a guy like him, if he's running away from people, they aren't playing any slow teams. There are not slow teams on their schedule. So if he's running away from guys, I think that should take a lot of meaning for people.
Jerry, you think about it, and the guys that are Texas has done a good job of evaluating. They really have. I mean, DeAndre Moore was a highly recruited player.
Yeah.
Okay. But he wasn't considered the elite of the elite. They just, I mean, Parker Livingston, very similar, right? Not considered the elite of the elite, but here we are. DeAndre Moore, Sark said, he made a real difference in the offense coming back. Parker Livingston has outperformed expectations. I'm telling you, I think that it's not just the system that they're going in. It's not just the development they're getting. I think they're doing a really good job in the Texas personnel department of evaluation, like true, meaningful discernment of players. I think that's part of the secret sauce that Texas has got right now.
Follow up, Nathan Loper he asked, follows up, what are the OL prospects looking like in 27? Tremendous in state. Like everybody that recruits this state at a high level, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, your Ohio State, your LSU, they should all get really good linemen out of Texas next year. Every year is pretty much good on the offensive line. I think 27 could be an elite one. Kennedy Brown's the highest ranked guy, but I'm just telling people he has competition at that. Ishmael Kamar is a stud at Gilmer. Brian Swanson's a stud at South Oak Cliff. Peyton Miller is an interior guy. Center guard's a stud at Anna. Then there's great depth behind that on the offensive line. There's a kid at Bullard Brook Hill, the private school. You have Caden Scott at Roosevelt. There is great depth at all across the board in state in 27 on the offensive line. There's going to be some real battles for those guys. Demarion Johnson, Tyler Legacy's committed to A&M. Texas is still trying to recruit him, as are others. There's going to be really, really fun recruiting battles on the offensive line in that 27 class because there are some high-end guys. And people are going to say, and Kennedy Brown will be the name because he's ranked the highest right now. But Ishmael Kamar is right there with him, and Brian Swanson, I think, is going to be right there with him. And that's just naming three guys. And Peyton Miller from Ann will be one of the top interior guys in the country. He'll be at Texas, I think, for the Arkansas game, maybe A&M game. He was at Clemson over the weekend. I'm sure that went well. Do the recruits get to go into the post-game press conferences?
No. Oh, boy. Jerry, you just drop that at the very last second. I've given out all these nuggets, and then you just cold-hearted.
Hey, by the way, we talked about this. Chat question. Here's a question for the chat, for real. If you were Florida, would you try to get all your prospects and the guys you're recruiting to the Texas game? And here's the reason I asked it. On the surface, the answer is absolutely. Arch Manning's coming to town. Texas versus at Florida. The Boo Birds are going to be out in warm-ups for Billy Napier. I think it's going to be an ugly environment for Billy Napier. Bobby, would you still bring a lot of your kids in for that game, or would you wait till later in the season? I don't think it's a simple answer.
Well, I'll just say this. If I'm Billy Napier, I bring him in now because I'm the one that's going to have to coach him. I mean, look, it's one thing. If I'm the University of Florida AD, I may have a different answer.
Mm-hmm.
But the University of Florida AD doesn't decide who they invite to. He doesn't get into the weeds that much as far as who they invite to football games. So, yeah, they'll invite as many as they can, and we'll see how it goes. Look, anybody thinking, and I want to say this, anybody thinking that Florida is a walkover or any of that stuff?
No.
Don't just because Jerry is poking a little fun right now, or I'm talking about their issues on offense or what have you. Don't mistake this for a a difficult game, or for a non-difficult game, because Florida has elite talent. I mean, they have, 20 guys on their roster that are going to play in the NFL. Now, it may not all be upperclassmen, don't get me wrong, but they have a lot of guys going to play in the NFL. So, we'll see where it goes, but this is not a gimme game. Anybody acting like that, don't do it. You get don't count your chickens before they hatch.
Now, look, if Florida is still behind playing for their coach, it'll be a spirited. Look, Florida played hard against Miami.
Yeah,
they played really hard against Miami, and if they bring that same effort, and look, the Florida defense is going to be fired up. Arch Manning's coming to town. I mean, they're going to be fired up. Look, anybody who can
and they were embarrassed last year.
Right. And pick off Arch Manning. I mean, there's a lot that comes with this when Arch Manning rolls into town. I think here's the thing that's going to be interesting about Florida. And I'm not saying the way the game's going, because nobody knows the way a game's going. Freaky things happen in games. Ball bounces in a certain direction. You get a wind gust on a deep throw. There's so many things that can happen. But we talked about Texas needing a good start last week against Sam Houston State on offense. Florida is at the same place when Texas comes to town. Florida needs to get off to a really good start on offense, because the last 2 weeks have been ugly. Billy Napier is the play caller and offensive coach. Those fans are going to be looking for a reason to boo him. They need to get off to a really good start. The question is, if Florida, and we got so much time to dissect this, but if Florida gets off to a slow start offensively and falls behind in this game, where does the team go at that point is the question, because that place is going to get ugly if it's a slow start. It's going to be interesting.
I don't like that for the players at Florida, because that's not being treated right by your own fans. I think Florida folds if you get them down by 2 scores early. That's what Jerry's talking about, really, is at what point do they stop believing in their coach?
Yep.
But look, Texas has to go out there and do it. I'm just telling you guys.
Florida, by the way, Florida hasn't really shown up the last 2 weeks. Florida's got they got some good wideouts now.
And Dallas Wilson's supposed to be back.
Dallas Wilson may be back. Vernell Wilson, the freshman, he's a really good. Eugene Wilson is a quality player who's battled injuries. J. Michael Sturdivant can race past your coverage. It hasn't really shown up, but they have talent at wide receiver. They have real talent. And Rocky P says they'll test the DBs. I agree with that. It's up to the Florida offensive line to give Lagway or whoever the quarterback is enough time. And by the way, if Lagway, and I'm not saying he's not, but if Lagway can't go, their backup is Tramel Jones, freshman from Jacksonville Mandarin, high school teammate of Jamie French. When I was at Mandarin last year, he had a broken leg. He had a horrific broken leg early in the season, missed the season. So he was he was very injured when I was there last year, and obviously was on the sidelines. It was after a surgery. But Jamie French, Tramel Jones, really, really good friends. He was a late flip from Florida State to Florida in Florida State's disastrous season. Tramel Jones, Florida likes him, but he is their second-team quarterback as a true freshman.
I just want to say this, and people are saying, oh, y'all are overrating Florida, blah, blah, blah. This ain't the Big 12, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Hill's just told you what it was like. When you play the teams that aren't good, they have high-level players. And those high-level players can sometimes make game-changing plays. We're not trying to overrank Florida or scare anybody about Florida at all. Okay? But stop thinking that Texas is going to be playing a undermanned and underutilized or under whatever Oklahoma State team. They're not. This is the SEC.
Yeah.
Just come to grips with that and realize it's much more like the NFL, where teams can beat other teams on a week-to-week basis. I mean, it happens all the time in the NFL. It happens in the SEC too. You'll see. I don't think it'll happen. I hope it doesn't happen to Texas, but it happens every week. I mean, Mississippi State beat Arizona State. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, something else that needs to happen, Bobby, is I need you to tell us about Adam Lowy this morning.
There we go. Adam Lowy. He's been helping us here at On Texas Football with his sponsorship for 3 years now. We appreciate Adam very much. He's also happy to help you and your loved ones. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, including anything from an ATV to an 18-wheeler, if you think you've been injured and or a loved one has been injured and think you might be due compensation, make sure you reach out to Adam and his group for a free, no strings attached consultation at loweylawfirm.com. Adam has been working with injured Texans for more than 20 years, Texas Law School grad. That's Adam Lowy at loweylawfirm.com.
Thank you, Bobby. We have another super chat this morning. If I can get my mouse to work. Jeff Carey says, if we lose to Florida, we will not make the playoff.
I agree.
Let's see where the season goes.
I'll say this. I agree with Jeff Carey on this because you're zero margin for error, and you have tough games coming up after that. And yeah, did you potentially catch a break with John Mateer being injured? On the surface, it's a huge break. Oklahoma's still really good on defense. It's not like they're going to be starting Davis Bevel in that game, but A&M's an improved team. They're better on offense. People can joke about it all they want, but they're better on offense. They got more speed. They got better players this year. We'll see defensively. Injuries impact the season so much. Vanderbilt looks to be a better team than last year. So you can get upset. I would say I think Florida's a must. Because of the loss to Ohio State, it makes Florida a must-win game. You don't want to have 2 losses with more than half your season left to play. Your odds to make the playoffs are very low at that point, unless you have Notre Dame's schedule. And Texas does not have Notre Dame's schedule.
And we will close with this one from Corey J. And Corey asked, does Texas still have a 1,000-yard rusher with how many games Wisner has missed, plus splitting touches with Baxter?
I think it depends on how many games they play.
Yeah, probably so. I think Jerry's right. They get to 16 games. The answer is going to be yes. We'll see. We'll see. And you got to remember, Baxter needs to stay healthy and Wisner needs to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Both of them have already been injured this year.
I thought that was one of the things that was lost we talked about it, but it's lost now because he's been out. But Trey Wisner had 16 carries for 80 yards against Ohio State. And I don't care if people say, well, Ohio State, the way they played defensively or not, that he had a really good game against Ohio State. And he has a chance. He has a chance, I think, to average 80, 85 yards per game for this team. So, again, if you do that, how many games you play?
All right, guys, so that's going to do it. What'd you say, Jerry? I'm sorry.
Probably not right now. You take the under on that bet.
Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. I want to thank Adam along with Duck Camp, Prize Picks, and Harry's all for sponsoring today's show. Of course, thank you all for tuning in as well. Speaking of tuning in, Bobby, what's later?
We got State of the Program coming up next. That's going to be me, Jerry, and Rod talking about where Texas is right now on a number of topics. We've got the breakdown. After that, CJ Vogel will talk about some interesting aspects. And then tonight, Jeff and CJ are back with the live stream. Got a number of different things going on. Guys, please join us in the On Texas Football community, if you would. That's ontexasfootball.com. It is the best community out there. You guys are being not only civil mostly to one another, but also informative. And I like it a lot. Anyways, right now we have a special $39.95 for an annual subscription for first-time subscribers to ontexasfootball.com. That's $20 off the annual rate. It is the price of a cup of coffee per month. If you want to support the show, please consider a subscription to ontexasfootball.com and use promo code OTFOG while you're there. and you'll get $20 off your subscription.
And get you some OTF gear at shop.ontexasfootball.com. Go to that link or use the QR code on the screen. Bobby has new hats and new coffee and football mugs, so get all stocked up as we gear up for SEC play. All right, well, we will be back same time, same place tomorrow morning. Hope you all have a phenomenal day today. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.